On my birthday, my daughter stood in the doorway, eyed the card I'd placed for myself on the kitchen table, and said, "You don't deserve a gift. You should be grateful we even showed up." My wife lowered her gaze and walked out without a word. That card, blank, unopened, unwanted, sat there like a final verdict. I didn't touch it. I didn't throw it away either. Because one day, they'd get their gift. And they'd wish it had never come. The next morning, I came downstairs expecting silence, and I was right. No one said good morning. No one looked up. My birthday cake sat on the counter, half-eaten, frosting smeared, already starting to crust over. I reached for the coffee pot and noticed the remote control was gone from its usual place. I checked the side table. Then the cushions. Nothing. My daughter sat on the couch, legs up, flipping through channels on her phone. I cleared my throat. "Where's the remote?" She didn't even glance up. "We moved it. It's easier this way." My jaw tensed. "We?" Her husband, slouched at the breakfast bar, chuckled without looking at me. "It's not a big deal, old man. Relax." I didn't respond. I poured myself coffee. No sugar left. No creamer either. They used to ask me before rearranging things. Before taking over. Now I was just background noise in my own home. I turned and spotted the trash can slightly open. Something white was poking out from under the paper plate on top. I reached down. My birthday card. Torn. A corner stained with some kind of sauce, crusted and soggy. They hadn't even read it. Or maybe they had, and just didn't like what it said. I took it out slowly. The front was still legible, "Happy birthday, Dad." Inside, blank. I had left it there the night before as a gesture. A silly, quiet hope. Maybe someone would write something in it. Maybe someone still remembered what that day meant to me. Apparently not. I held it in my hand for a moment, then folded it gently and slipped it into my back pocket. "You take everything so personal," my daughter said suddenly. I looked up. She was watching me now. Not with concern, just irritation. I stared at her. "That was my birthday card." "It's a piece of paper," she shrugged. "You're being dramatic." I stepped toward the couch. "You don't think it means something when your own child throws your birthday in the trash?" She rolled her eyes. "You're not the only one living here, you know. This house isn't just yours anymore." That stopped me. "This stopped being your home when Mom got sick," she added. "We moved our lives here to help." I glanced toward the hallway, where my wife had retreated. The same wife who once begged me to keep the house warm and full of life. Who now stayed silent when the walls were filled with someone else's rules. "You moved in because it was cheaper than rent," I said. "Let's not rewrite history." Her face flushed. But she didn't argue. "You used to be grateful," she muttered. I leaned in. "You used to be kind." Silence hung between us. She picked up her phone again, pretending I wasn't there. I stared a moment longer, then turned toward the hallway. Halfway there, I heard her voice behind me. "Just let it go, Dad." I didn't answer. Later that afternoon, I walked into the den. My favorite chair, the old recliner by the window, had been pushed to the far corner, wedged behind a stack of boxes. I hadn't noticed it earlier. My spot. The one place I could always count on. Now it looked like a piece of forgotten furniture at a yard sale. I didn't say anything. I just stared at it. The card pressed against my leg in my pocket. Soft. Fragile. Still there. I ran my fingers along its crease. In that moment, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. But I knew this: they had drawn a line. Not with fists or shouts, but with cake thrown away, words half-whispered, and paper left to rot in the trash. And lines go both ways. The next morning, my son-in-law stood at the breakfast bar, arms crossed. "We should talk," he said, without greeting. My daughter stood beside him, arms folded. I said nothing. He smiled. "Don't worry. It's just about the future. This stopped being your home when Mom got sick." Torn card found in trash, pocketed. "We should talk," he said. "It's just about the future." The next morning felt colder than it should have. The coffee was made, but no one had poured a cup. The kitchen was too quiet, like the kind of silence you hear before something breaks. I walked in and saw them both waiting for me at the table. My daughter and her husband. Side by side, backs straight, faces tight. Like lawyers ready to deliver a sentence. My wife was at the sink, eyes on the dishwater, scrubbing a plate that was already clean. "Morning," I said. They didn't answer. My son-in-law slid a folded sheet of paper across the table. "What's this?" He smiled. "Something we think is best for everyone." I opened it. Read the first line. Froze. Power of transfer and living deed authorization. Blank lines for signature, date, witness. I looked up. "You want the house?" "No," he said, grinning. "We want to secure the house, for the family." My daughter chimed in. "You always told us you wanted to keep things simple. That family comes first." "That's not what this is," I said. "This is theft with a bow on it." "We've lived here over a year," he said. "We've paid bills, done the grocery runs." I cut him off. "Used my card, my pension, my name." My daughter stepped forward. "Dad, it's just a signature. It makes things easier for taxes, for security. We're not kicking you out." I laughed once. Dry. Cold. Not yet. My wife still hadn't turned around. Outside, I saw the outline of a neighbor approaching, Miss Halvorson, the widow from across the street. She had a bundle of mail in her hands, likely dropped off by mistake. She opened the door gently, smiling. "Morning, folks. Got your..." She stopped. The tension hit her like a wall. Her eyes flicked from me to the paper in my hand. That's when something dropped. A torn piece of my birthday card, stained and curled, fluttered out of the trash bag my son-in-law had been holding. It landed on the floor between us. Tucked beneath it, half slid into view, was the top edge of a legal envelope, the same one containing the ultimatum they'd just handed me. Ms. Halvorson froze, eyes catching on the ink. No one moved. "Looks like an important letter," she said slowly, still watching my face. My daughter stepped in quickly. "Thanks, Ms. H. We'll take it from here." The neighbor nodded slowly, one brow raised, then stepped out with deliberate calm. The screen door creaked shut behind her. My son-in-law didn't miss a beat. "Well, you've got a few days to think about it. But we'd like this wrapped up by Sunday." "Sunday?" I echoed. He nodded. "If not, we'll need to talk about alternative care options. Assisted living. Somewhere that can help manage your daily stress." He said it like he was talking about the weather. My daughter put a hand on his arm, but said nothing. Her eyes dropped for a split second, as if something in her twitched. But then she looked back up and said, "We're not trying to push you. This is for everyone's good. We're not here to celebrate you, we're here to survive you." That was the moment. That was when I understood, this wasn't help. It wasn't family. It was business. And in their business plan, I was the liability. I folded the paper. Not to sign. Just to contain the insult. Then I walked away without a word, the edge of the card fragment still visible on the kitchen tile, like a reminder that even trash can tell the truth. Torn card fragment falls from trash, reveals ultimatum underneath. Neighbor witnesses tension plus legal envelope. Ultimatum plus public fallout. We'd like this wrapped up by Sunday. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the way they'd said it, so calmly, so rehearsed. Alternative care options. Like I was a package too heavy to keep around. At sunrise, I stepped out to get the paper. The dew clung to my shoes. My knees ached more than usual. But pain's funny, it stops mattering when someone's already trying to replace you. When I opened the mailbox, I saw it. A thick white envelope. My name printed neatly, but not by me. It had been slit open. Inside, 2 carbon copies of cashed checks. Both bore my signature. But not my handwriting. I gripped the railing tighter. Later, I waited until my daughter and son-in-law left for errands, her words, and made my way to the hallway closet. The file drawer was slightly ajar, a corner of something white jutting out from beneath the utility bills. I pulled it free. It was the sleeve I kept our house documents in. Tucked inside, besides the property tax forms, was my birthday card. Still torn. Still blank. Except now, it had been slipped inside with 2 suspicious checks and a piece of scratch paper that read, "Dad approved over breakfast. Just keeping things moving." My breath hitched. They were burying their crimes under my memories. When I got to the bank, the clerk recognized me immediately. He gave a tight smile. "Good morning, sir. You were in last month, right?" I nodded. I didn't authorize any recent transactions. Especially not 2 checks for $5,000 each. He tapped on his keyboard, brows knitting together. They were signed. But... He hesitated. But what? They were brought in by someone else. Your daughter. I clenched my jaw. When? 3 weeks ago. Did she say I approved them? She said you weren't feeling well, but wanted everything handled. We were trying to be accommodating. I'm sorry. I nodded slowly, heat rising in my chest. She also moved some monthly auto-pays around, he added. Routed them to a new joint account under her name. I stared. Sir, if this isn't accurate, we can escalate. But, she presented herself as your legal rep. I leaned forward. She's not. And I never signed over rights. He lowered his voice. Then you may want to speak with someone in legal. Privately. Killer line, you gave me a birthday cake and stole the candles. Back home, I didn't say a word. I placed the bank sleeve, with the torn card still inside, on the kitchen table, directly in my daughter's usual seat. When she walked in later that evening, her hand paused above it. She looked at the card, then at me. What's this? You tell me, I said. She opened the folder slowly, flipping through the copies. Her face twitched, just a hair. I thought Mom explained this, she muttered. No, I said. She hasn't explained a thing. My wife was behind her, wiping her hands with a dish towel, eyes flickering back and forth like she'd just walked into a gunfight. I was only trying to help, my daughter said quickly. The bills were behind. The paperwork's confusing sometimes. Then why didn't you tell me? Because you'd say no, she snapped. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was loaded. Like a pause before a fall. You looked me in the eye, I said quietly. And you still took what wasn't yours. I needed to make sure everything stayed afloat. At what cost? She turned away. You told me I didn't deserve a gift. Turns out, you were just getting started. Card slipped into home folder with stolen check copies. Unauthorized checks, joint account access, auto pays changed. You may want to speak with someone in legal. The bank's legal office smelled like old paper and cold coffee. I sat across from a woman named Linda, sharp-eyed, polite, but cautious, like she'd seen too many families do what mine was trying to do. She held the check copies in one hand and the power of attorney slip in the other. "This is not a formal POA," she said. "It's more like a suggestion. A very dangerous one." "She signed it herself," I said. "Claimed I agreed over breakfast." Linda squinted at the handwriting. "Was this written on the back of a receipt?" I nodded. "Pharmacy, I think." Her lips tightened. "Your daughter said you weren't mentally stable. That she was protecting your finances." I stared at her. "They're protecting themselves from being cut off." She flipped the paper again and then opened the envelope I'd brought. Inside it, folded between bank forms and check scans, was the torn birthday card. Linda paused. "What's this?" "My birthday card," I said. She looked confused. "I don't understand." I took it from her hands, unfolded it gently. "They threw it in the trash. Never signed it. Then used it as padding to hide the forged paperwork." She tilted her head, absorbing the cruelty of that detail. "Do you mind if I scan this?" "Scan the card?" "Yes. As part of the timeline. It's symbolic, but also proof of how they handled private documents. Especially if we connect handwriting samples." I nodded. "Do it." Her assistant came in, took the stack, and returned minutes later. Linda tapped the screen in front of her. "Here's something else." She turned the monitor. Security footage. My daughter, standing at the teller counter. Confident. Presenting herself as my legal proxy. Even smiling. Behind her, my son-in-law looked impatient, checking his phone. "Did they say anything?" "She said you'd recently been confused," Linda said carefully. "That you'd asked her to take over everything." I leaned back, my stomach tightening. "And no one called me?" "She had a copy of your ID. Looked legitimate." I clenched my fists. "They're carving me out of my own life." Linda studied me. "What would you like to do next?" I looked her in the eye. "I want someone on my side now. Someone legal. I want to know what rights I still have before they bury them." She nodded. "We'll start with revoking their access. And get you in touch with someone who can escalate this." Before I left, she offered me a folder with her card tucked inside. On top of it, my birthday card, now scanned and printed, rested like a ghost. Back home, I didn't say anything. I walked past the living room where they were watching some game show, laughing. The folder in my hand felt heavier than it should have. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I wandered into the dining room, where the ceiling fan clicked like a slow metronome. I opened the drawer next to the sideboard. Old bills. Insurance papers. And a thin yellow envelope I didn't recognize. I opened it. Inside was a typed letter, dated from a month ago. A request to release a secondary fund from my retirement account. It had my signature at the bottom. Only I'd never seen it before. My daughter's name was listed as the co-requester. Killer line, "They didn't wait for me to die, they just rewrote me out." I stared at it for a long time. Then, behind me, the floor creaked. My daughter stood in the hallway, her eyes puffy, hair tied back, glass of water in hand. "What are you doing up?" she asked. "I should be asking you that." She glanced down. "Is that from the drawer?" "Yes." Her gaze flicked to the letter, then away. "We were just trying to help." She said it quietly. "No venom. Just fatigue. You forged my name." She didn't deny it. She just looked away again. "That's a crime." I know, she whispered. That was the first time she didn't argue. Didn't posture. It lasted only a second, but it was something. A fracture in the mask. She walked away without another word. Card scanned by bank legal as part of timeline. Daughter doesn't deny forgery, guilt flickers. Banker sets up legal referral, we'll get you someone who can escalate this. Sunday morning brought sun and silence. My wife dressed for church without saying much. She asked if I wanted to come, and I surprised her by saying yes. The pews were full, the air smelled like coffee and cologne, and everyone had that small-town politeness, smiling too tightly, whispering too softly. But I could feel it. The stares. The murmurs. They say he's not managing well. He forgets things. His daughter's helping now, bless her. I sat through the hymns with my hands folded, eyes forward. My daughter and her husband arrived late and took their seats in the same row, 2 spots down. She gave me a tight smile. I didn't return it. After the service, people gathered outside, like they always did. Pastor Merton shook hands and offered hugs. He pulled me aside as I reached for the coffee table. Brother Harold, he said, voice warm. Everything okay at home? I nodded. Just a rough season. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Your daughter mentioned you've been needing some assistance managing things. My stomach tightened. She said you might be stepping back from some responsibilities. If there's anything the church can do, someone to help with affairs, just say the word. She told you that? He hesitated. She's concerned, Harold. She's concerned about what she can't own yet. He blinked, a little stunned. Then nodded slowly. Well. If you ever need a witness. I'm here. It was a good man's way of saying, I'm watching now. Just then, my daughter stepped up beside us. Sorry, Dad. Do you have a moment? I turned. She pulled out a crisp document, typed, double-spaced, formal. I had this prepared so you don't have to deal with stress. It's just a formal update to the POA. Pastor can witness if you want. My breath caught. She was trying to trap me in front of everyone. I told you, I'm not signing anything. She held it out anyway. Just look it over. A pen was already clipped to the corner. I reached out. Not for the paper. For the card she'd tucked underneath, my birthday card, of all things, now used as a backing board. I flipped it over. The inside now had 4 bold words written in thick blue ink. Happy retirement. Let us help. Same handwriting as the note the bank flagged. The card had evolved, from insult, to concealment, to forged goodwill. People watched us now. A few feet away, Miss Halvorson raised her eyebrows. Even Pastor Merton shifted uncomfortably. You really used my birthday card to stage a con, I said softly. She looked down. It's just a card. No, I said. It's every lie you've told, wrapped in a hallmark smile. Killer line, you want my mind gone so my money can follow. My voice was low, but it carried. I turned to Pastor Merton. Would you be willing to witness me refuse this signature? His eyes widened, then slowly nodded. Of course. I handed him the pen. Then please note, I am not confused. I am not unstable. I am just finally done being quiet. A few people clapped. Most stayed silent. My daughter tried to laugh, light-hearted. Come on, Dad. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, I said. I'm reclaiming what's mine. Her eyes darkened. This isn't over. I leaned close. For you, it just might be. Card used as backing for forged POA, handwriting matches bank letter. Church members witness the confrontation, pastor supports father. Daughter hisses, this isn't over. Father replies, for you, it just might be. I didn't wait till Monday. At 9:01 a.m., I walked back into the bank, but not the local branch. I drove 3 towns over to a place where no one knew my daughter, where no one had heard her sad little stories about my so-called confusion. I asked for a manager. A man in his 40s with silver-rimmed glasses took me into his office and listened closely. I need to shut every door she's opened, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Do you have documentation? I handed him the folder the bank's legal assistant had prepped, scans of the forged checks, the false POA, the envelope with the manipulated birthday card inside. And the card itself, taped shut with an old pharmacy receipt I'd found in my jacket pocket. It wasn't fancy, but it was real. My tape. My life. The manager read silently. Then nodded. We'll begin by revoking joint access to the checking and savings accounts, he said. She'll receive a notice, but won't be able to draw a cent. And the credit card? Frozen. A new one will be mailed to your address. Single user. Auto pays? We'll reassign everything back to you. Takes about 24 hours. I leaned back, exhaling for what felt like the first time in days. As I walked out of the bank, I stopped by a corner market and picked up groceries, bread, eggs, milk, some ground coffee. The bag was heavier than I remembered, but I carried it home by hand. No one met me at the door. My daughter wasn't back yet. I walked into the kitchen, unpacked everything neatly. Cleaned the counter. Put the torn card back into my wallet, still taped shut, receipt edges sticking out like a stitched wound. Silent dignity, folded and carried close. When they returned, I was in my chair, yes, my chair, reading the newspaper. Did you go somewhere? She asked. Grocery store. Her face wrinkled. With what card? Mine. There was a pause. She looked at her husband. He gave her a look that said don't push. Later that evening, while they were out again, probably the salon, my wife approached me in the kitchen. You really shut it all down? I did. She didn't scold me. She didn't defend them either. Just looked tired. They'll be angry, she whispered. They already are, I replied. They just smiled while they did it. She looked at the wallet in my hand, the corner of the taped card barely visible. What are you going to do with that? I folded it slowly and slid it back inside. Keep it. Just in case someone asks what started all this. Killer line, if they wanted a guardian, they should have picked someone weaker. The phone rang that night around 7:15. My daughter's voice came through, high-pitched and panicked. Dad, my card just declined at the salon. I didn't say anything. Did you do something? I reclaimed something. You can't just cut us off. Yes, I said calmly. I can. You're making a mistake. No. I'm correcting one. She started to shout something, but I hung up before I heard it. The next morning, I found her pacing in the driveway. She didn't knock. My wife stayed inside. I watched her through the blinds, frustrated, angry, talking into her phone. She didn't look like someone protecting family. She looked like someone who'd just lost control. Card taped shut with pharmacy receipt, stored in father's wallet, now symbol of dignity. Financial cutoff, account freeze, credit cancellation, auto pay reversal. Daughter's salon card declines. Father hangs up calmly, no. I'm correcting one. Tell me, what would you do in this situation? I'd love to know. By Wednesday morning, the air in the house had changed. Tighter. Meaner. Like walking into a room after someone said your name behind your back. I came downstairs and found the living room spotless, unnaturally clean. My chair had been pushed back into the corner again, half covered by a laundry basket. My favorite mug was gone. Even the rug under the table had been rolled up and stored in the hallway. I knew what this was. They weren't helping anymore. They were declaring war. My daughter was on the phone, pacing the kitchen. I caught only fragments. Yeah, frozen. No, he's refusing to speak to anyone, just unpredictable. When she saw me, she didn't pause. Just turned her back and kept talking, her voice growing louder. My son-in-law stood near the door, holding his phone like it was a weapon. "You really think you're clever, huh?" he said. "I think I stopped being quiet," I replied. "You left us stranded at the salon." They embarrassed her in front of everyone. I froze. "What didn't belong to you?" "It was a joint account." "No," I said. "It was mine." He stepped closer. "She's your daughter. We've been here for over a year. You think this place runs on memories and pity?" I didn't flinch. "No. But it shouldn't run on fraud, either." He scoffed. "You'll regret this." He walked off, slamming the door behind him. An hour later, I found my wife in the laundry room, folding clothes that weren't ours. My daughter's coats. Her husband's shirts. "I didn't ask for this," I said quietly. She didn't meet my eyes. Neither did I. I left the room before I said something I couldn't take back. That afternoon, I opened my tablet, checked my email, and saw the subject line. "Unstable father, please watch this." It was from a stranger. The link opened to a social media post. There was a photo of our kitchen table. My birthday card sat open on it, except someone had written inside in large, jagged letters. "I don't know what day it is. I need help." The caption read, "We're trying to get him the care he needs. Please pray." My heart dropped. They had staged it. The handwriting wasn't mine. It was shaky, exaggerated. Like a child's imitation of confusion. The same blue ink from before. The photo had been cropped, tight, close-up, no context. Just enough to start a rumor. And it had worked. There were already dozens of likes. Sympathy comments. One person even offered to send resources for elder support. I stared at the screen, frozen. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was character assassination. I walked out to the backyard, where the card had been tossed in the past. Not this time. Now it was being weaponized. I sat on the porch steps, clutching my wallet. Inside, the real card, the one they hadn't forged, was still there. Taped shut with that same pharmacy receipt. My proof. My memory. My dignity. Killer line, "They want to break my spine, then bill me for the chiropractor." By the time the sun went down, I knew what was next. They'd called the police before. Or tried. This time, they were laying groundwork. Building a digital file of me, confused, unstable, declining. My phone buzzed. It was my wife. Just a text. "They said they'll bring someone to assess you if this continues." No signature. No sides taken. Just another warning wrapped in silence. I replied with one word. "Let them." I stood, walked back inside, and sat at the table. The card, their photo prop, was gone. But mine remained. In my wallet. Untouched. And soon, I would show it to someone who mattered. Card staged in photo as false evidence of mental decline, real card still taped in wallet. Social media attack portraying father as unstable. Wife texts, "They said they'll bring someone to assess you." Father replies, "Let them." The knock came just after 10 a.m. 2 firm raps at the front door. Not rushed. Not casual. The kind that demands an answer. I opened it to find a uniformed officer on the porch. Mid-40s. Calm eyes. A notepad already out. Mr. Harold Whitmore? Yes. I'm Officer Langley. We received a call from a family member. They're concerned you may be in distress. I stared at him for a long beat. Is that what they said? He nodded. Mind if I come in and talk for a moment? I stepped aside. My wife peeked out from the hallway, then quietly disappeared into the kitchen. The officer took in the house. Everything looked normal, too normal. Like someone had scrubbed the truth from the walls just before he arrived. I'd like to ask a few questions, he said, settling at the dining room table. Do you feel safe? Yes. Have there been any recent arguments or incidents that you feel affected your health or mental state? I held back a bitter smile. Only betrayal. Does that count? He raised an eyebrow but didn't write anything yet. Sir, I have to ask, are you currently in control of your financial accounts? Yes. Do you recall signing over power of attorney? I shook my head. Not willingly. And not legally. He paused, then said, a document was submitted claiming otherwise. Forged, I replied. I've spoken to my bank and a legal advisor. That gave him pause. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I reached into my back pocket and pulled out my wallet. From inside, I unfolded the birthday card, the one still taped with the old pharmacy receipt. Carefully, I laid it on the table. This was the only gift I got this year, I said. He leaned forward, curious. Sir? I opened the card slowly. Inside, it was still blank. Except for the blue ink residue from the fake version they'd staged. They used a copy of this card in a social media post. Said I was confused. That I'd written a cry for help. He blinked. I tapped the corner of the tape. Same handwriting. Same ink. Same daughter. He leaned back. Do you mind if I take a photo? Go ahead. He snapped a picture, then looked at me carefully. You seem very lucid, Mr. Whitmore. Calm. Direct. I'm a father who watched his name get carved up like a roast. Killer line, the card they mocked became the proof I needed. He took a few notes, then said, would you like to file your own report? Fraud, perhaps. Defamation? I nodded slowly. Yes. It's time someone listened to my side. Just then, my daughter appeared in the doorway, hair brushed, face set in that soft smile she used when strangers were near. Officer, she said. I didn't mean to cause alarm. My father's had some episodes. Langley didn't stand. He just asked, were you the one who posted a photo of this card online? She hesitated. We were trying to get help. Did you write on the card? Silence. He looked at me, then back at her. We'll need to document this further. She didn't answer. Her eyes darted between us, searching for an escape route that wasn't there. He stood. Mr. Whitmore, I'll be in touch about the report. In the meantime, I recommend you get a formal attorney involved. He tipped his cap. As he stepped outside, he turned back and said something quiet. You handled that with dignity. Not many do. I nodded. The door closed behind him. My daughter stood frozen in place. You told them I was unstable, I said. You're twisting everything, she said, but her voice cracked. No, I said. I'm untangling it. Card used as evidence of composure, officer photographs it. Police encounter reveals truth in front of daughter. Officer says, I recommend you get a formal attorney. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you even more. By Friday morning, the coffee brewed differently. I had a name, a number, and a meeting time. The bank's legal assistant had connected me with a man named Peter Dorman, quiet voice, clean blazer, ex-prosecutor turned private elder law specialist. His office smelled like dusted leather and tension. But his handshake was firm. "You've been patient," he said. "Too patient." I placed the folder on his desk. One by one, we went through it. The forged checks. The phony power of attorney. The screenshots of the staged birthday card post. And finally, the card itself, still taped shut, still stained, still silent. "This," I said, "was never meant to mean anything." He opened it carefully. "But now it means everything." He scanned the handwriting and tapped it lightly. "We can match this to the post and to the bank notes. The forgery's sloppy, but intentional. That's what matters." "And the staged post?" "That's defamation," he said. "But more importantly, it's evidence of manipulation. A psychological setup. They weren't just managing your affairs. They were building a false case to discredit you." I exhaled. He flipped open his laptop, clicked a few files, and turned the screen toward me. "Here's the timeline we'll submit: forged documents, unauthorized withdrawals, public defamation, and attempted coercion with witnesses present, your church, your neighbor, and now the police." He paused, then added with a grin, "Your birthday card? That's Exhibit A." Killer line, my lawyer scanned the card, Exhibit A in the record. He leaned forward. "I'm filing for a cease and desist, a restraining order, and full revocation of any legal claim they think they have. If they set foot in a financial institution using your name again, it becomes criminal." I nodded. "And the will?" He raised an eyebrow. "Are we updating it?" "Effective immediately." "Shall I remove her entirely?" "Yes," I said. "And put the house in trust. They don't get to sell what they tried to steal." "And the wife?" I paused. "She stays. For now." He nodded without judgment. By the end of the meeting, a thick envelope was sealed and stamped, "Legal retaliation, layered and lethal." He slid it across the desk. "Take this home. Hand deliver if you like. Or I can." "I'll do it," I said. Back home, the sun was high and the house quiet. I placed the envelope on the dining table, same spot where the card first sat, untouched. I added one final touch: I slipped the card inside the envelope. Not to gift it. To remind them what started it all. At dinner, my daughter returned first. She saw the envelope, didn't touch it. "What's this?" "Legal boundaries," I said. "With teeth." She didn't sit. Just stared at it. My wife entered next. Her eyes dropped instantly. My son-in-law swaggered in last. "What, another lecture?" I didn't answer. He picked up the envelope, saw the return address, and froze. "This is a lawyer." I nodded. He opened it. The sound of the card sliding out with the papers made my daughter flinch. "What is this?" she asked, voice sharper now. "It's what happens when you try to steal from someone who's still breathing." He scoffed. "You're overreacting." I smiled. "A judge can decide that now." She opened the card. Blank. Except for one note Peter had printed and inserted on fresh paper inside. Exhibit A, emotional and symbolic artifact of manipulation. Preserved and submitted by client. My daughter's hands trembled. "You're turning this into a war," she said. "No," I replied. "You fired the first shot. I'm just firing back, with documentation." My son-in-law tried to speak, but nothing came out. They left the room together. Not in anger, just in defeat. I stayed at the table, finishing my meal. Card becomes formal evidence, titled Exhibit A, enclosed with legal strike. Legal, cease and desist, restraining order, POA revoked, will updated. Daughter trembles reading the card. The collapse is about to begin. The collapse didn't start with a bang. It started with a ringtone. Tuesday afternoon, I was in the den, sorting through the last drawer of old tax records. I heard her phone vibrate in the kitchen. Once. Then again. Then a third time, longer this time, followed by a pause and a sharp intake of breath. I didn't get up. I just listened. My daughter picked up. Hello? Pause. No, I understand. Long silence. What do you mean terminated? Another pause. Her voice dropped. There's been a mistake. Then, quietly, please, don't report it. She didn't cry. Not yet. But something left her voice. I heard her step outside, the door creaking. Her silhouette passed by the window. Phone pressed to her ear. Shoulders tight. She'd been fired. She worked in finance, employee relations. She used to talk proudly about company ethics, data security, trust. I wondered what excuse she had ready when the HR department called and said, "We've received a report about your handling of a senior's private account." The irony hung in the air like smoke. When she came back in, she didn't speak to me. Not a word. She walked past with red eyes and went straight to her room. The door closed quietly. No slam. Just surrender. An hour later, her husband got his turn. I was sipping coffee when the front door opened, and he came in looking like a man who'd been hit with a shovel. He walked past me, went straight to the fridge, pulled out a beer, and leaned on the counter without speaking. Rough day? I asked. He didn't look at me. My accounts are frozen, he muttered. I don't even know how. Just gone. Maybe they flagged your name. Someone tipped off the audit division, he snapped. I wonder who would do that, I said. He slammed the beer on the counter. You think this is funny? No. I think it's just beginning. Killer line, they fed off me like wolves, now the pack is starving. He stormed off. No bravado this time. No insults. Just fear. That evening, my wife came into the den. She didn't say anything. She just looked around at the books, the windows, the clean desk. Then she sat on the arm of my chair. What happens now? She asked softly. They deal with the consequences, I said. She nodded. On my desk, the birthday card sat inside a small frame, turned backward. Not to hide it. To face it. I'd placed it that way for a reason. She noticed. You still kept it? It's the only honest thing they gave me. She didn't argue. The next morning, I woke early. I made breakfast, just for myself. My daughter came downstairs like a ghost. Her eyes were hollow, her hair unbrushed. She sat across from me but didn't eat. She looked at the floor. I lost everything. I didn't say anything. I just wanted to make sure we were secure. You didn't need to steal from me to feel safe. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. I thought I was doing the right thing. No, I said. You thought you'd never get caught. Card now framed, turned backward, consequence, not sentiment. Daughter fired live on phone, son-in-law's accounts frozen. Daughter whispers, I lost everything. Father replies, you thought you'd never get caught. Thursday morning, I went to Millie's diner like I always used to. Before they moved in. Before my name became a convenience for other people's plans. I took a window seat, ordered black coffee, and watched the street shift between calm and chaos. That's when Pastor Merton walked in, followed closely by Ms. Halvorson, and then Dale from the hardware store. All familiar faces. All friendly. But not naive. Word spreads fast in a town like ours. Even faster when you hand someone a letter stamped by an attorney. Merton nodded and sat across from me. You doing all right? I'm upright, I said. That's more than I can say for your daughter, said Dale, without malice, just observation. She's embarrassed, Miss Halvorson added, sipping her tea. But not sorry. She will be, I muttered. Just then, the door swung open. My daughter stepped inside, eyes scanning the room. When she saw us, her shoulders stiffened. She walked up slowly. No smile. No pretense. Can we talk? She asked. In front of them, I replied, sipping my coffee. That's how you started it, right? Her face flushed. You posted lies about me. You used my birthday card to make me look senile. You forged my name on a check. And when that didn't work, you brought the police. The diner had gone quiet. People weren't trying to eavesdrop. They just didn't have to. You're twisting it, she said quietly. I pulled the folded card from my pocket. Placed it on the table. It wasn't framed today. Just raw again. I didn't twist anything. This is the truth. You wrote on this to pretend I was confused. Her voice cracked. I was scared. You were greedy, I said. And now, you're exposed. She looked at Pastor Merton. You believe him over me? I believe whoever comes clean, he said softly. She turned to Ms. Halvorson. You think I'm a criminal? No, she replied. I think you forgot how to be a daughter. That landed harder than anything else. Killer line, they wanted applause, they got silence instead. My daughter stood frozen. Her eyes shifted between us. Her hands trembled. She looked down at the card on the table, then slowly backed away. Dad, she said, voice low, I made mistakes. I said nothing. She left the diner in silence. Outside, her husband waited in the car. He didn't get out. Miss Halvorson leaned forward and placed a hand on mine. It's over now. No, I said. It's almost over. I took the card and placed it beside the deed papers that Peter Dorman had mailed back, now marked with updated trust information. Pastor Merton looked at the two documents. The card. The deed. You planning something? Closure, I said. And a little justice. Card placed on diner table beside updated deed, truth and ownership side by side. Community confrontation, daughter humiliated before pastor, neighbor, and peers. Pastor asks, you planning something? Father replies, closure. And a little justice. The final stroke didn't come with yelling. It came with a signature. On Friday morning, I stood in the county clerk's office holding the deed transfer papers. The clerk looked them over, stamped them twice, then handed me a copy with a polite, congratulations, Mr. Whitmore. I nodded and slipped the copy into a thick envelope already prepared for mailing. But it wasn't going to my daughter. It was addressed to the local elementary school. In it, the deed to my home, placed in trust under my late wife's name, and earmarked for use as a literacy center, something she always dreamed of. It would carry her name long after I was gone. And it would carry none of theirs. The same envelope also contained a printed copy of my new will, witnessed, notarized, final. My daughter was no longer in it. Not for the house. Not for the savings. Not even for the furniture. And then, with steady hands, I added one more thing into the package. The birthday card. On the back, I wrote one final note in black ink. This is all you left me with. So this is all you get. Then I sealed the envelope and dropped it in the mailbox. It was out of my hands now. Back home, I sat by the window. My wife sat across from me, watching me in silence. You really did it? She asked. I did. She looked at the floor. The house? Gone. Given. To someone who never asked me for anything. She said nothing for a long time. They'll hate you, she whispered. They already did, I replied. That afternoon, the mail arrived. She brought it in quietly. A few bills. A charity flyer. And a return envelope from Peter Dorman, confirmation of the trust filing. I placed it on the mantel, beside my wife's photo. That night, my daughter showed up again. No makeup. No performance. Just the sound of her shoes on the front steps, and a single knock on the door. I opened it. She held an envelope. I got your letter, she said. The one with everything. I didn't invite her in. I don't know what to say, she added. You already said it, I replied. Last Sunday. With a fake smile and a forged name. Tears welled in her eyes. You left me with nothing. No, I said. You did that yourself. Killer line, they wanted inheritance. I gave it to strangers who still know love. She opened the envelope she brought with her. Inside it was the card, creased, worn, my handwriting still visible on the back. She held it up. Why did you send this back to me? Because that's the last thing I received from you. A blank page. A fake signature. A performance. She clutched it like it burned her. What am I supposed to do with this? Frame it. Or burn it. Either way, you'll remember it wasn't your gift, it was your warning. She stood there for a long moment. The sky behind her dimmed to orange. Her shadow didn't reach my feet. Finally, she turned and walked away, gripping the card like a shard of something lost. Card mailed back to daughter with handwritten message, becomes final emotional strike. Legal, trust/will, financial, removed from inheritance, symbolic, card used as message. Daughter clutches card. Father says, frame it. Or burn it. It started with a knock. Not loud. Not demanding. Soft. Hesitant. I opened the door to find them both, my daughter and her husband, standing on the porch like strangers asking for help. No arrogance. No attitude. Just two people who had finally run out of options. She held nothing in her hands this time. No forged forms. No envelopes. Just herself. Can we talk? She asked. I didn't move. Please, she added. Her voice cracked on the word. I stepped aside. They sat on the couch, but this time, they didn't sit like they owned it. They perched, quiet, as if afraid it would reject them too. My daughter folded her hands in her lap. We lost everything. I know. My job's gone. His business is frozen. People won't return our calls. I know, I said again. She looked up at me. Her eyes were red, not from fury, but shame. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered. Yes, I said. You did. You just didn't think I'd fight back. Silence. Her husband cleared his throat. We made mistakes. I stared at him. We panicked, he continued. The bills were heavy. And we thought, you were getting older, it wouldn't hurt to shift things early. You thought I wouldn't notice. We thought you wouldn't stop us. I leaned against the wall. You were right about one thing. I am getting older. But I've spent a lifetime knowing the difference between loyalty and leeching. My daughter wiped her eyes. I don't want the house anymore, she said. I don't care about the money. I just want you not to hate me. That landed. Not because I believed her. But because, for the first time, she stopped hiding behind excuses. My wife entered the room quietly and sat beside me. We could start again, she offered gently. We could fix this. Killer line: forgiveness isn't inheritance. It's earned, not claimed. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the last remaining piece of the card, the one I hadn't mailed, hadn't burned. Just the folded corner with the original printed message, "Happy birthday, Dad." No signatures. No messages. Just emptiness. I held it up. This, I said, was all I got on the day that should have meant something. They said nothing. I walked to the fireplace. Tossed the fragment in. Flames took it slowly. Curling edges. Blackened print. Smoke rising. My wife stepped forward and opened a small mason jar we kept for spare nails. I held it under the flame, caught the ashes as they fell. When it was done, I screwed the lid on tight. I took a Sharpie and wrote one word across the glass. Unopened. Then I placed it on the mantel, beside the framed deed, now marked with the school seal. My daughter watched the whole thing in silence. When it was done, she stood. "I understand," she whispered. Her husband followed her to the door. Just before she left, she turned back. "Will you ever forgive me?" "Maybe," I said. "But not today." They left without slamming the door. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was clean. Card fragment burned, ashes caught in jar labeled unopened. Offers emotional closure, denies financial forgiveness. Daughter asks, "Will you ever forgive me?" Father answers, "Maybe. But not today." Sunday morning arrived with no wind, no clouds, just that strange, crisp stillness you get in early autumn when something important is about to happen. Pastor Merton had asked me to speak. Just a few words, he'd said. Nothing dramatic. I brought the jar. I walked into the church holding it in both hands. Not like a weapon. Not like a trophy. Like a truth too fragile to carry any other way. The congregation was full. Familiar faces. Some who knew too much. Others who knew only the gossip. All of them watching me now. I stepped to the podium. Cleared my throat. Held up the jar. "This," I began, "was my birthday card." Murmurs. I let the silence settle before I continued. "I got it last month." It was empty. No note. No name. Just a card, unopened. It stayed that way until it was used to steal my name, stage a lie, and question my sanity. I looked out across the pews. They tried to burn my dignity. So I gave the fire something else instead. I turned the jar slightly. The ashes inside shimmered faintly under the stained glass light behind me. I kept these. Not as proof of pain, but proof that I made it through it. That I saw what was happening, and I didn't go quiet. Not this time. Ms. Halvorson nodded from the second row. Pastor Merton looked down, his hands clasped. I continued. They didn't just steal money. They stole moments. Trust. They tried to make me forget who I was. Pause. But I remembered. I placed the jar gently on the table beside the altar. And I named it, Unopened. Because that's what they gave me. A celebration they never started. A message they never wrote. A father they stopped seeing. Killer line: my birthday gift was silence, my revenge was being heard. The church stayed silent for 3 full seconds. Then someone clapped. Then another. And then the whole place stood, not roaring, not cheering, just quiet, sustained applause. Not for drama. For dignity. My wife walked to me slowly, took my hand. We sat together in the front pew. And in the colored light spilling through the stained glass, the ashes inside the jar caught every beam like it was a second chance. My daughter sat in the very back, eyes wet. She didn't stand. She didn't leave. She just listened. Later, as people filed out, they passed the jar, some with nods, others with simple glances. No one asked for details. The story was there in the glass. The card was gone. But the message had finally been written. Card ashes in jar titled Unopened, glowing under stained glass light. Church speech, full community present, father publicly respected. Wife beside him, daughter in back row, quiet acknowledgement, no reclaim. Jar glinting in colored light, dignity restored, legacy sealed. If you liked this story, like the video, subscribe, and share your impressions in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left.